piece of information. You all know about it. The Buddhist monk's robe is the only piece of fashion that has not changed in 2,500 years. Think about that. 2,500, they are still doing the same fashion. Yeah? Armani and Gucci, eat your heart out. Okay, right. So, and I said I will translate. So, Gandhi said, our government, our politics is designed to make you more and more greedy. And you know what has happened in this country. All right? That greed has created more greed and more greed and more greed. If we had gone the other way around to reduce the greed, honestly, the best philosophy is kais pagi makan pagi, kais petang makan petang. If we only stuck to that, we would be much happier, which we don't. Okay? But the world has enough for everyone's need, but the world will never have enough for one man's greed. Even one man's greed, the whole world cannot satisfy. But for the whole world, 6 billion people, whatever we have, our resources, more than enough. So what's happening in politics today is that if we had followed the Buddhist way, yeah. Oh, by the way, is this impractical? Not at all. The king of Bhutan, yeah, the king of Bhutan, he just gave the throne to his son recently. He said, I am not interested in the gross national product of my country. I am not interested in my GNP of my country. I am interested in the gross national happiness of my people. Think of that as a philosophy. If a government said, how can we make people more happy rather than more greedy by giving them more houses, more cars, more infrastructure, more everything, which is going all wrong. Santutte paramam dhanam means contentment is the highest wealth. Contentment is the highest wealth. There is a man who can be quite happy, yeah, with one shirt. You know that story? Chinese story? Once upon a time, long, long ago, far, far away in China, there lived an emperor. And this emperor wanted to know, how can I find perfect happiness? So he asked everybody, how can I find perfect happiness? How can I find perfect happiness? Of course, everybody gave him a lot of advice. He was never satisfied. One day, to keep him quiet, one of his ministers said, Your Majesty, if you want to be perfectly happy, you must wear the shirt of a man who is perfectly happy. So what does the emperor do? Nothing better to do. He goes all around his kingdom, all over China, walking, looking for the happiest man. Alright, so he asks, oh, you look happy, okay, are you happy? No. Are you happy? No. And then he goes on like that for about 3 years. At the end of 3 years, he finally comes to a riverbank. Chinese story, must have riverbank. So, and when he comes to this riverbank, he meets a fisherman. Chinese story, must have. And this fisherman is singing a song and he's perfectly happy. The emperor questions him, finally he said, right, I have finally found the happiest man on earth. Give me your shirt. And the guy says, Your Majesty, I have no shirt. That's why I'm happy. Think about that, okay? So, but that's a story. But if it becomes a national philosophy, all right, and if our politics is geared towards the eradication of greed and the development of contentment, this does not mean a nation of fools who just sit around, we don't mean that at all. We will we improve, but we share. You know what's happening here today? The richest countries, they are getting richer and richer at the expense of the poorer countries. So the people in Africa and the people in Afghanistan, these are all these people where most trouble is created. They are angry because they have nothing. They have nothing. Okay. So if there is more equality, yeah, and if governments get together and even things out, then it will be. And this was said. This is my point. Yeah, that the Buddha said this, that the greedy ones have to be less greedy, and the hungry ones have to be less hungry, and but not everybody is necessarily has to have the same. Communist China made that mistake of trying to have everybody live in the same type of house. It will never work. So capitalism came back to China. Okay? Right. Now, where do we find an example of a perfect community which runs according to democracy? And for 2,500 years, the answer has been the Sangha community. The Buddha, when the Buddha became a Buddha, originally I told you there was the first original 60 monks, and then this spread and spread, became 500, became 1,000, and there was a huge community of monks. For the first, was it 25 years? Yeah. For the first 25 years of the Buddha's teaching, ministry, the Buddha taught for 45 years, okay? For 25 years, there were no rules. This is shocking. There were no rules. Why? Everybody was so highly developed that he did not need rules. What do we mean? In Buddhism, we have two types of people. Silava, Silamayo. Silamayo is you and me. We have to be good. We have to work at being good. Once in a while we tipu here, we tipu there, but most of the time we try to be good. We are Silamayo. We are those, and we need rules, 5 precepts, 10 precepts, and so on. Silamayo. But Arahants and so on, like the Buddha, they don't need rules because they are good by nature. They don't have to say panatipata. They will never kill. They don't have to say adinadana. They will never steal. And so on. Okay? So there is silava, silamayo. So the objective of a government is to make all the people good by nature. For 25 years during the Buddha's ministry, there were no rules. Then people from outside looked and said, wow, these monks these Buddhist monks you see, they're having a great time. Half the time they are sleeping. Alright? And then they get food sent to them, breakfast get, lunch get. Okay? And then after that, they don't sleep, they sit down and they close their eyes. Sometimes they snore, sometimes they don't. Why don't we do the same thing? So, not naturally good people, but people who are waiting for the easy life, they began to join the Sangha during the Buddha's time. Alright? And the very first rule that the Buddha had put in was, this guy, he was married. So he quarreled with his wife and he came and became a monk. Not because he was ready, but because he found it convenient. Alright? But what he did is, in the daytime he's a monk, in the night he goes back to his wife. Okay? So the first rule that the Buddha instituted was, once you become a monk, you cannot have anything to do with the opposite sex. That was the first rule. Okay? And after that, 227 rules came to be put. Okay? Meaning that in an ideal society, people should not have policemen. But we are not in an ideal society. So we do need policemen.